Alright guys, Hayzink here. Welcome back to the channel for another Street Fighter Duel video. So in this one, we are going to talk about something that I've been getting asked quite a lot. I've been getting asked from various different people, who should I do for Soul Boost? Now, as you guys may already be aware, there is some characters, and you can see who I've done, right, and I'll explain why I've done that character. But there's some characters you can get Soul Boost on, and there's some that you can't, as we already all know. When it comes down to options for paying players, there is more than if you are a free-to-play player. So a lot of times these questions are coming from free-to-play players and some pay-to-win players, because not all pay-to-win players know exactly who to put resources and stuff like that into. So I'm going to start off talking to the more paying player who's maybe got a few more premium units, about who I think is probably the best options to go for, right? Now your mileage might vary on this, and I think that overall you should go with whoever you use the most, right? For me, I went with Ken. And the reason I done that is because I use Ken in a lot more teams, and also he's a trigger unit. And I feel like trigger units are free damage, that's how I see them, because they don't use a slot for combo and they get you damage. So if you're going to be boosting up their stats to make them hit a hell of a lot harder, I see that as free damage, right? So for me, I would say that the top priorities, two of them are trigger units, right? Which would be this guy or this guy, right? I think those are really solid options. Now if you got extremely lucky and you got Virgil is a top option to go for. Now I didn't go for Virgil initially, and that's because I do use my Monster Hunter Ken more than Virgil. However, if you do choose Virgil as your number one option, you've made a smart choice. Plain and simple. You've made a smart choice. He's a very solid option to go for. You could argue that he is the number one option to go for, but again, that is highly dependent on you. The other option for paying players would be Akuma. Now I say paying players, but when we're talking about Akuma and Evil Ryu, if you're someone who is quite smart with your resources, I know plenty of free-to-play players who actually have their Akuma or their Evil Ryu in a position where they can actually do this. So if you're one of those players, then doing it now to either Evil Ryu or Akuma is an absolutely fantastic option, right? Straight off the bat, no questions asked. Akuma will melt units, absolutely melt them, but chances of you having him built up enough, which I've not, to get to the point where he's going to melt units, I don't know about that. Level 80, you know, if you're a free to play, you're not getting them to level 80, okay? You'll easily get them to level 40 with what we got the other day, and you'll have a slow process to get him up to level 80, but when you hit level 80 with this guy, he is absolutely going to melt fools, right? So basically, what I would say for priorities, again, if you're a paying player, and I say that because of these two units, I think either of those is your number one option, is a very solid pick, a very solid pick. Maybe you would inch Virgil over Monster Hunter Ken, but if like me, you use Monster Hunter Ken more than Virgil, then absolutely go with this guy. You will not regret it. He hits like an absolute truck when you've got him built, right? For everyone else who's been summoning on special summons and they've been quite smart with their tickets, they've saved, they've got lucky, they've maybe used divination tokens after that, and they've got someone like Evil Ryu or Akuma built up, again, both of those are absolute solid options. Me personally, I favour Evil Ryu only because he's a trigger unit, and I've already explained that with trigger units I view it as free damage, and I just feel like you get more bang for your buck. But if you want a unit that will absolutely melt bosses, then Akuma is the way to go. So the vast majority of you who are watching, and I've probably asked this question, are free to play, and your options are far more limited, right? They're far more limited. You've got Street Poison, you've got Viper, and you've also got Honda. Some of you will also have Jury, because boxes, city, shop, pools, you've maybe built up Jury to the point where you could do her, and you're probably you could do her. A lot of you would like to do her, wouldn't you? As long as she's got her feet on show. A lot of you are probably wondering, out of those 4 units, who should you go for, right? So, here's the answer to that question. No one. That is the answer. Don't go with any of them, right? Allow me to explain. When it comes to Viper, right, you will get a nice boost to her stats. You will. And she will do more damage. Absolutely, she will do more damage. But you are going to use up all your resources, and all of your resources are going to be very hard to come by again, at least at any kind of decent pace, okay? Same goes for Honda, same goes for Poison, although Poison is someone I probably wouldn't do anyway because she generally sits in slot 4 and I don't really feel like she's going to benefit as much. But the reason that I say do not do any of these units is quite simple. These units, particularly this guy and this guy, they are going to get added to the system. We don't know when, but they will, right? The way that it works is they are probably going to, I would like to think, add them in batches rather than drip feed them. They might drip feed them, but they are going to be added, right? Now if you blow your load over Viper, why do I keep saying things that sound so filthy? If you do that though, when it comes maybe next month, maybe 2 weeks, and they decide, bang, Bison's in the pool, and you do not have your stones, you are going to instantly regret putting your stuff here. And the reason I say that is because even if, when he gets this, if his boosts at the bottom aren't fantastic, simply the massive boost he's going to get to stats is going to be so significant that it would push you so much, probably more, or most likely more, than someone like this. Same goes for Blanca. Just think of how much content you use this guy in, and think of how much difference getting a boost along the lines of this is going to make to the kind of damage output that that character's going to do. What's going to benefit you more in the long run? Building up your Viper to do something like this, or building up a unit who literally you see on all the top teams pushing all the top content, like Bison, like Blanca. What one's going to benefit you more? The best thing that you can do if you are not going to be someone who goes in to purchase either these or the yellow ones is sit on your supplies. I know how difficult that is because I know when something new and shiny is added to the game, you want to use it. You cannot refund these though. This is not like other things within the game. You cannot roll this back. So once you've made the decision to go all in on a unit, you may as well finish that unit. And again, if you jump in with both feet, you're potentially going to miss out on something that could really help you later on. Now, I don't think that necessarily applies to people who are looking to do it to these limited units, because these limited units are different. They are useful right now. You can, if you've got them, if you're lucky enough to have them, you can already use these units to push content, and you can already do a lot of things with these units. Whereas some of these other units, particularly Viper, when you look at the things that she gets boosted, you've got her C2 and her C3, whereas the thing that you're probably using her most for is her super. That's not getting any additional bonuses. The only thing you'd be getting with Viper is raw stat boost. Raw stat boost is good, however, you kind of also want to get something from down here. So in my personal opinion, I do not think it would be smart to do Viper, to do Bison, or to do Street Poison, or even Jury, because while Jury will get elevated quite a bit by boosting her, Jury is power crept right now. If you boost her, she's no longer power crept. However, as soon as they add units like this, so on, she's going to become power crept again. So it's going to be such a short-term gain thing, and honestly, in my opinion, you should save. That's the best advice that you could have if you're a free-to-play player. Again guys, it's entirely up to you. If you're desperate, absolutely desperate that you've got to do this now, if you currently use Viper as your main DPS, then sure, you'll see some benefit from it. Will you regret it later? Maybe. But if you want to do it, do it. But my advice to you is don't. So there's the answer. Nobody needs to ask me in the comments anymore about who they should put investment into. There is your answer. Anyway, I've been Hayzink. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.